play it because what the hell, why not, right?
Right.
You guys want to hear a stupid ass new song, right?
Yeah.
Cool. It's a little different, but it's fun.
Hey. Yeah.
Oh, scummy, why are you an asshole? I think I might have said this like once or twice before, I don't know. Oh, scummy, why are you wasted every day, every single moment, every hour that you're away? I only wish that I had the chance my hero. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are sent to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off this fucking ass. That makes you know. Can't fucking breathe. That makes you know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got the one and only Golf T Vapes himself across the octagon from me this fine evening. We may or may not get ourselves a casual drop in this evening, depending on if he can get his new PC up and running. But we are officially back with actual punchy kickies to talk about this weekend. Thank goodness. So before we get into that crazy shenaniganry, how the fuck you doing over there, Golf T?
To be quite honest, I'm fucking exhausted today, and to be honest, the card is not really waking me up this weekend.
It's not really doing anybody
Like-
a whole lot of favors for damn sure.
There's a few little possible gems in there, and I call them possible gems because, to be honest, even Dan 50K E-Gay ain't 50K no more. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's I will say, to be fair, it is a pre-pay-per-view card, and we do always say the pre and the post pay-per-view cards nowadays just tend to be rough at best. So like I said in the description down there, we are going into this with low expectations. That way, should something spectacular happen, it's that much better. And if not, we kind of expected it going in. So I hate to be Debbie Downer, as it were, but as we always say with these pay-per-view hangover and pre-cards, you got to go in with your expectations at a certain bar, and that way anything that exceeds that is just fun. So that being said, we did do a rare Thursday, what did I say, recap show last week, since we did not have any punchy kicky of any of the major organizations take place at all last weekend. We really have not had a ton of terrible news shake down the pipeline since last weekend, but we do have a little bit of news that I do want to go over here before we get into the thorough shredding of this abomination they're calling a fight night card that we've got to look forward to, I say with quotation marks for those listening. So little news rundown here real quick for you. Couple fights, couple interesting stories. The first big fight announcement that we've got that's really even worth talking about here, July 1st at the PFL 6, we will get to see one of the few potentially interesting matchups the PFL really has left to offer the MMA fans at this point, and that is Kayla Harrison versus Julia Budd at 155 pounds, headlining the card. To be fair, Julia Budd is not a 155 pounder, never really was. She had the 145 pound belt over in Bellator prior to Cyborg showing up, mainly because at that point, the Bellator 145 pound ladies division was very much like the current UFC ladies 145 pound division, in that there's like 7 ladies there, and that's it. At that point, Julia Budd was reigning supreme. And then once they brought Cyborg and some more legitimate names to beef up the roster to 145, Julia Budd got pushed out and has made her way over to PFL now. But to be fair, like I said, she's competing at 155. She's a lightweight over at PFL, where Kayla Harrison naturally competes, not where Julia Budd naturally competes. So Kayla Harrison has obviously got a clear advantage going into this. Julia Budd has struggled a little bit to get her feet underneath her, getting acclimated to fighting at 55 specifically so that she could compete with girls like Kayla Harrison and potentially steal some of that thunder. So it is going to be interesting to see how that one actually shakes loose. We'll see, but it's essentially one of the biggest fights PFL has left to offer at this point.
As far as the female division is concerned, yeah. To be honest, the only reason I think that PFL managed to keep her is purely so she could duck having to fight Cyborg and talk shit across from the room, from across the other side of the room. However, we've seen it. Cyborg is fucking beatable, especially when you're an elite level fucking athlete, a la fucking Amanda Nunes. Kayla Harrison is also an elite level athlete, but there's that I don't want to sign with Bellator shit, and I get it. They apparently PFL just fucking backed up a dump truck full of money to her. Said, "Oh, by the way, you can still win $1 million every year when we have
right." Your $1 million in cash is still secured. Plus, here's a fucking Tonka truck full of hundos.
And to be honest, she's a good sign for them because she manages very well, and she's a top talent. Who, to be honest, if she weighed a little less, she'd be in the UFC. But she's a fucking at a bare minimum 145, and that's really fucking pushing it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, UFC is not about big women's division.
No, No, it was enough of a struggle for them to create the 45-pound division specifically to try and lure Cyborg over, and that blew up in their face and now is literally withering on the vine. They have zero interest in looking at a lightweight division for the ladies side of things in the UFC.
Kind of hoping PFL and Bellator figure out some sort of cross promotion just for that fight, period.
Yeah, I agree. Even if they don't make it the ongoing thing, I would be interested to see if they want to do the champion versus champion thing. Like, damn well Cyborg has no issue going up to 55 whatsoever.
But God, I mean, she doesn't have to cut weight.
Yeah, no shit, right? She only has to cut 30 pounds instead of 50 this time. So
yeah, that'd be like a no-brainer for her.
Yeah, it's fucking
like, oh, this one's a walk in the park.
That one. Yeah, she would love that for damn sure. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But I still think if Julia Budd is on her proper fucking game, she could give Kayla a serious fucking problem as long as she's acclimated to fighting at 55. They really did fucking railroad her against Cyborg. So if they let her get used to it and she's finally got her shit together, got her footing underneath her, Kayla versus Julia could still be an interesting fight. I'm not going to go out of my fucking way to make sure I tune in for it, but we'll see what happens as we get a little closer to July. What else is going on that weekend? We did get an interesting announcement here over on the UFC side of things. The current Invicta bantamweight champion has officially dropped her Invicta belt and signed herself a UFC contract. Emily Ducote, I'm not sure if she says it how, whatever, has officially signed herself a UFC contract, bowing out of her championship status in Invicta, and will make her debut in the UFC on the Long Island card on the 16th against Jessica Penne. So she's literally not getting any slack right out of the gate. She's going straight from Invicta champ to top fucking contender in the UFC right out of the gate, which that's a double-edged sword. If she can come in and do work against Penne, that's going to rocket her straight to the top of the division. On the other hand, if you come in and Jessica Penne just hands you your ass, that championship from Invicta looks real diminished, and you're going to start all the way back at the very bottom of the goddamn pile, climbing back up. So 35 is a rough division, and with everything going on with this fucking Ultimate Fighter and then the fucking rematch going on and Misha moving down and other ladies coming up, shit's crazy right now. So, I wish her the absolute best, but I don't know if now is the best time to dive headfirst into the deep end of the ladies bantamweight division. So,
to be honest, I kind of like that matchup. That's a good fucking. Let's see how good the current Invicta champs really are.
Yeah.
It's because look, we're constantly begging to get shakeups in some of these divisions, and to be honest, I'm okay with little bantamweight shakeup there. It's a fucking fabulous thing. There are some other divisions in the women's side of the house that could use it a little bit more, but fuck do I know?
Right. No, it's. With everything at the top of women's bantamweight being as crazy as it is right now, if she shows up next month and just absolutely does work against Penne and Long Island, that could absolutely springboard her for damn sure. Partially because of the next item I've got to talk about here real quick. That July 16th Long Island card, which we now have confirmation will be headlined by Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez, has now, as of Monday, been confirmed a UFC on ABC card. It is the UFC on ABC 3 card, so it will get the full regular TV broadcasting push, and I'm sure we'll have ungodly amounts of commercials between every fucking break crammed in there. But the one good thing that does come from these being ABC cards is they generally tend to be on a little earlier. We're not waiting for a main event at 11:45 at night like we get with some of the super fucking late Vegas cards.
No,
So,
they take those nice prime time slots when that happens.
yeah, they embrace that prime little fucking slot.
Your main card's gonna start at like 6 o'clock at the
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like 6:30 maybe.
That way they can be done by 10.
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
not a huge difference from those of us who watch pay-per-view normally, but you know,
Right.
I'm just saying it's something. Give them
Yeah.
a little more.
Yeah, little something. And that with it being on ABC, that the combination of it being in Long Island for the first time in what 5 years or 6 years, something like that. They've been since they were in Long Island. Combine that with Ortega coming back after his fucking long layoff and shenaniganry there, and then add on top of that, it's an ABC card, so they're going to get full regular television broadcasting promotion and advertisement as well. You know, not to mention they're not stacking. Like I said, this is one of the July cards, so the entirety of July, we get 5 cards in July, and every one of them, top to bottom, is stacked because that's International Fight Week, that's International Fight Month, that's the UFC's real Christmas right there. July is just top to bottom 5 cards of fucking insanity traveling the whole fucking globe. So it's nice to see that the one in the middle there, that 16th card coming back to Long Island, they're taken seriously and given damn good publicity push behind it. Speaking of July being fucking loaded, we got confirmation. The rumor is officially true. The UFC wasn't just angling. They finally put pen to paper. July 23rd, the UFC's return to London will officially feature one Paddy the Baddy. Paddy Pimblett is officially now on the UFC's return to London card, taking on Jordan Levitt, who has said, if you're offended by the twerking and dancing he does in the cage now, look out London, because when he beats Paddy the Baddy, he's got something he said no one will be able to forget in mind. So
this, you know, I do like Paddy for the kind of person he is. He's a fucking person outside of the cage. Lets himself just fucking get all chubby cheeked and fucking scroll up.
Yep.
Look, if he was fucking American, he's a burger loving, fucking French fry eating. I could see him as a redneck in America.
He would absolutely fit in the country in America. Yes.
But then when it comes time to work, the dude works his ass off to get back to where he's supposed to be, which that brings some other news in there, but I don't want to fucking pull that up yet. So I will say without a doubt, I love it and his shenaniganries after fights are over. He doesn't do it during fights, which thank God, because if that was the case, I would be completely fucking out.
Yeah.
If he pulls that off in London and takes out Paddy and then twerks on him or whatever the fuck he's going to do, I will have to lose all respect for Paddy. And I will have to also hate Levitt even more.
Right. Well, and that's part of the problem, I think, is that I was actually talking with somebody about this yesterday on one of the forums. Jordan Levitt is what Michel Pereira wishes that he could be. All of that flashy, showy, after the fight bullshit that he saves for after the fight, he does strategically, because Jordan Levitt, love or hate his nobody puts baby in the corner bullshit after the fight's over, legitimately is pretty goddamn good when the fucking bell rings and it's time to keep your fucking hands up. He's not a world breaker yet, but he's still new. He's only had, what, I think 2 fights in the UFC, 3 fights in the UFC so far.
3.
He's still fucking very, very new, but he composes himself during the fight and saves his jumpy, flashy, goofy bullshit for once that time is over, something Michel Pereira has not still figured out how to fucking do yet. So
and to be honest,
I've got to say, I agree with you, man. If he manages to lay fucking Paddy down and twerk on him or whatever, or fucking shake his ass on the cage, he's going to melt the O2 arena. Like, London's going to just catch on fire and crumble into the ashes like the Middle Ages, man.
Look, I don't know if you get, for those of you who are not sports fans across the board, like, I love sports of any kind. I may not watch all of them, but as a whole, I love sports just for what they bring to the world. If you guys aren't familiar with Europe as a whole, they are a very large football nation. And I'm not talking American football. I'm talking soccer, footy, depending on what country you're in, called a couple different things. They have soccer hooligans who will no doubtably be there because they like fights. And if that happens, we could see another Mexico City. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's
possible. It's genuinely possible. It really is.
Like, I hope they have the right security in place, because some of the security that are in those joints sometimes are just big hooligans as the fucking fans. And that is nothing against their fan base, because I love that shit.
Absolutely. But at the same time, if you look at how much bullshit Molly was able to get drunk and get away with last time cage side, literally dancing with the bottle of tequila in one hand and a fucking flag in the other, standing on chairs, if they pull that shit off, under good conditions, and then Jordan Levitt goes out and just fucking wheel kicks Patty into next Thursday and twerks on his face or something, like,
it'll be fucking wild. And don't get me wrong, as far as the matchup is concerned, I love the matchup, especially for where both of them are in their careers.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong,
it's good.
Patty's on a little
valid,
steeper of a trajectory than Levitt is, but that's because of the hype he came in with.
Yes.
And then the Sousers don't get fucking knocked out interview with fucking Bisbing, because that rose his stock a lot. As much as I hate to say it, that fucking did it. But the matchup itself is fucking great. And I'm hoping Patty listened to him say that and has something up his sleeve for after the fight, just in case. Because I'm just saying, a little early fucking in their careers rivalry wouldn't fucking hurt them.
Hell no. No, because especially in that situation, if Patty manages to do the unthinkable and actually stop Jordan Levitt, considering that Jordan Levitt is a much better grappler and fucking wrestler than Patty could ever fucking dream of being. So
I don't know.
If he gets his hands on him and drags him down, like, it could get real interesting real fast. But if Patty can fucking do the unthinkable and catch Levitt trying and just lay him out and then like dances on fucking Levitt, they won't be able to finish that card. They will have to stop the rest of that show right then and there and finish it the next day, because London will lose its absolute fucking mind.
It's going to go crazy one way or fucking another.
And, good or bad.
As much as I hate to say it, as good of a wrestler as Levitt is, he's going to give Patty's fucking really good jiu-jitsu a hard time. Which, to be honest, I can't wait for that fucking London card, because they seem to keep throwing little extra tidbits and morsels there. Where I'm like, this is turning out to be a pretty good fucking solid standout card here by itself. Which, not mad about. Especially,
that's what I said. They're not taking July lightly at all.
It didn't Tom Aspinall on that same card, if I remember correctly. Dude,
I believe Molly's on that card. I think all three of them are on that card again this time around. So
that's literally right now. The only other person they could put on there and then be the Mount Rushmore of fucking London is to get a hold of fucking old Gamzat and be like, hey, is your brother ready?
Right.
Because if they can get Darren Till on there too, I'm just saying, that place would be a fucking madhouse. But Till's got a matchup already, if I remember.
I was gonna say Till's already matched up for later in the summer though. Yeah. So
maybe he'd take a short notice fight. Who knows?
I was gonna say that I believe Till is on the same card with Gus. So and that I love equally as well, because he's been training with Gus and fucking Kamzat for the last year now almost. So for him to actually go onto a card with Gus now, I think is just great fucking maneuvering by their management.
Hell yeah, because then they get to both be in camp at the same fucking time and they can really work the shit out of each
other for sure the whole way.
Literally, goddamn Kamzat, no matter what happens with his fucking shit, he'll be there fucking working the dog piss out of the both of them. And as much as he probably runs circles around both of them.
I have to say, he's probably going to literally pinball between the two of them to make sure they're both ready for their fights that night, realistically.
Hell yeah.
Kamzat. So yeah, no, I'm okay with it, dude. I think it's going to be a damn good fucking five card July for damn sure. We talked a little bit about this last week and the week before when we got rumors that things were happening and then confirmation that it was off but not why. Well, we now have official confirmation as to why it was officially off and is now officially rebooked, if that wasn't confusing enough. Robert Whitaker versus Marvin Vettori is now officially re-official. They moved it like we caught wind that they were planning to do, but now we know when and why. It has officially been rebooked all the way out to September 3rd, but the reason they moved it all the way to September 3rd is because September 3rd, the UFC makes its first official appearance in Paris, France. And they wanted to make sure they had some good fights on board. So they're pulling the Whitaker-Vettori fight because that's going to be a good fucking fight, and making sure that that one is there to build that France card around. There are also rumors that we might get Tai Tuivasa versus Cyril Gane bumped to that card. There are several rumors in the works that they are trying to get Manon Fiorot back together, ready in fighting shape in a little shorter notice than she would have liked, to try and get all the French athletes that we can that are established already on this card, much like we just talked about them doing with the London athletes when they're going back to London. We're going to Paris for the first time in UFC history. It would be a fucking shame if they couldn't get at least a couple of the genuine big name Parisian, if not French athletes, to the very least, on that fucking card. I have a feeling they're going to, but it's going to be involving some dump trucks full of money.
I am, to be honest, the most exciting thing for that France card is seeing all the local talent that they're going to bring onto the card, because we haven't got to see much of the French talent. Don't get me wrong, there are some fighters out there as far as MMA is concerned, but most of them we didn't know about until they came to the States to train and then get picked up by promotions. Because now that they can legally train in France,
yes, sir.
There's, because I'm sure there was some underground shit going on there beforehand. That's how those guys made it to the States to get to big teams.
Right.
But to actually get to see legitimate local talent and find out how the gyms are there and where those fighters are, dude, that actually fucking steams my buns, man. Like, I'm fucking excited about that shit.
Yeah, I agree, because you know damn well, and we've heard it several times, that there are still wealths of fucking MMA talent just barely bubbling to the surface in France because of, like what you just said, they had to be underground for so fucking long, because literally up until, what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, MMA was literally illegal in France still, like the equivalent of what it was in the United States back in the late 80s, early 90s, when this shit was first starting to develop around. It was still illegal. Yeah, they were events for damn sure, but if you got caught at one, you could absolutely go to fucking jail for watching that shit back then. Well, that's what France was like until literally just a couple of years ago. So we are just now getting to the point where some of those people are comfortable saying they have been participating in MMA or training MMA for X amount of years that are more than 2, and immediately qualifies them as being a former fucking criminal for training their sport. So it's a weird situation, but again, shit like this, the UFC coming to Paris, and specifically, like we talk about, when they come to places like that, they fill the undercard with local talent. So that is going to be a beautiful fucking door opening for some of those French athletes to get their name out there, possibly. I'm for it, man. I think it's going to be a good fucking, we got good fights already getting added to it. We're going to see a bunch of fucking local France talent come out and get their fucking chance. I'm with it. I'm happy that the UFC is finally making their way over. Next one we've got here. Like we talked about earlier, with Emily Ducote making her signature coming into the UFC from Invicta, we got another similar sign on just yesterday afternoon. Two-time world Muay Thai champion Tianara Lisboa has officially signed with the UFC to step into the 135-pound division as well. No opening match just yet. She just got her contract signed, but two-time world Muay Thai champions on the ladies' side of things generally have not been the ones to make their way to the UFC. those ladies historically have tended to make their way over to ONE FC, where the ladies Muay Thai is a little bit more utilized, I feel. So the fact that she's coming over here, she's coming to the 135-pound division, and she's coming to bring elbows and knees with ferocity, that I feel almost more than Emily Ducote getting signed could potentially shake things up at 135 pounds in the UFC.
Yeah, to get a legitimate fucking world champion that's a striker in the UFC, that's a fucking phenomenal thing, because that women's division fucking needs it so bad.
Yeah,
like,
talk about breathing life into a division. That girl is a fucking defibrillator for 135.
You're gonna give some of those 135 girls who have literally been fucking waiting for somebody to want to have a stand-up brawl that chance.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm for it.
I was very happy when I saw that. The Emily Ducote thing is cool because I'm very happy that Invicta is basically the ladies' feeder organization for the UFC. It's almost at this point established to be what Khabib wants Eagle FC to be for the guys. Like, you get here, you look good, you get to the UFC from here. Invicta has basically established themselves as the ladies' side of things for the UFC in that same vein. You come to Invicta, you kick ass, you take names, you get a fucking belt. The next thing that follows that Invicta belt is generally a UFC contract offer. Emily Ducote is proving that is still the thing, but seeing ladies like Tianara get a contract from the Muay Thai side of things coming in, I think it's going to be fun. I hope it's going to be as fun as it feels like it could be, I should say. Ironically enough, though, speaking of bitches in the 135-pound division, Aljamain Sterling piped up this week and decided that he had to run his fucking mouth and say, I don't even know how to quantify this statement. On one side of the coin, if this is genuine, and I absolutely question that it is, if this is genuine, this demonstrates him being a team player and a fucking great teammate. On the other side of that coin, the fact that he made this statement publicly before it's even a realistic possibility shows me that it was probably just made to keep his name relevant right now. But he did come out in an interview and say that if Merab wins his next fight at 135 pounds, that would be enough for him to vacate the 135-pound belt and officially move up to featherweight for good, because he feels that Merab is the future of the bantamweight division and doesn't want to compete with his teammate when he knows that Merab is clearly on his way up. I agree with half of that statement. I agree. Merab is on his way up, and if he keeps on that trajectory, I do agree. He definitely has a good chance of being the potential future of bantamweight. But
that other half is bullshit. That's I'm scared of fucking Merab. Let me put this in the nicest way possible. I respect my teammate.
Right.
So I will move out of the weight class so he can run it. No, bitch. You're fucking afraid of him. That's why you're saying that before he's even there. Because Merab is, much as I hate to say it, he's got at least 2 fights before he gets title shot.
Easily. And I like Merab.
And
I'm a fucking huge Merab fan, but he's at least 2 spectacular finishes from being in the title conversation.
Well, he's fucking sitting number 6, so he's got to beat at least a 3-4 and then a 2 or 1.
Yeah.
Before he gets shot, unless somehow he gets a short notice fucking fight because fucking Aldo Dillashaw or whatever they've got coming up falls through and he has the short notice replacement, which I bet they will either call fucking Sandhagen or Vera for.
Yeah.
But you know,
at this point, I agree.
That's the only other way I could see him possibly getting a fucking run up at it in one fight. But yeah, he's at least 2 fights away. And that's just showing what a bitch fucking Aljo really is. However, he did have I will credit where credit is due. He did have a pretty funny fucking call out on Dillashaw, which
I agree that the needle mover comment. I'm still not convinced he actually wrote that himself, but I agree. That was a great fucking zinger.
It was pretty goddamn funny. That's one of the few times I can actually say I laughed at something he allegedly said versus him just saying something.
Right. Well, and I think the other part of this comment or this statement of his that really bugs me the most is he doesn't cut a lot of weight. He's not a big bantamweight to begin with. If you look at his last 5 fights, he's been the smaller dude in almost every one of those fights at bantamweight. He doesn't cut enough weight to just be a contender all of a sudden at 45 pounds when he's not a big 35 pounder and he doesn't cut a lot of weight to get to 35. This is not a Dustin Poirier situation where he was literally killing himself to get to 45 just to get into the UFC. Fought a couple fights there and decided, you know what, 55 is a lot better for me. And now he's eyeballing 170. It's like, this isn't that situation. This is where this dude has always been, and he naturally fits in there. He doesn't have the physical stature to just go to the next division because he cuts a couple pounds of weight to make 35. The dudes at 45 don't walk at 45. That's not how the UFC operates these days. So I understand if he actually is trying to do it to help his teammate. On the other side of that fucking coin, how the fuck do you realistically think you can just walk into 145, son? Those boys are going to walk a mud hole in your ass, and we're going to laugh till it's fucking done. Kids these days, I tell you.
Stomp a mud hole in it and walk that shit dry.
Right? Well, and the best part about that theme in the news here is, speaking of delusional fuckheads, we got word yesterday that Claudia Gadelha has officially come out despite her official retirement from MMA and challenged Joanna Jędrzejczyk to a third match since she's already had her ass beat by her twice. This time in grappling only. She wants a submission only match against Joanna for the third no one asked for it match. First and foremost, when you lose 2 in a row, there's generally not a huge call for a trilogy, with the Max and Volk situation being the literal exception to that rule. Neither one of those fights had a finish in it. Those were 2 fights that went to arguably close decisions. That's 50 minutes of combat time that didn't require a finish. Claudia doesn't have that luxury. Not to mention, the reason that she lost to Joanna twice in a row is because she's a grappler. Joanna's a striker. So why would Joanna, after beating her twice in striking, then agree to go in a grappling match against the girl who's no longer under USADA regulations and go for a submission-only grappling match? Like, I admire you taking the swing, Claudia, but come the fuck on now. You got a great job with the UFC. Sit back, work the PI, and
You know, apparently she's bored because you can only talk about ass play so much.
Yeah, which on the other hand, hey, credit for throwing that clip out there. I did not expect my Tuesday to start that way, but I'm not mad at it.
Hell no.
Yeah, Claudia's a weird one, man. She's a fucking weird one. Like, it's really hard to root against her, but at the same time, she also makes it really hard to root for her sometimes when she does stupid shit like this. Now, I did mention him just a little bit ago, and he is actually back in the news for a kind of a stranger reason this time. We did get Dustin Poirier back in the headlines this week, but not for the reason that most people would think. This time he was actually sticking up for Conor McGregor, of all fucking things. Michael Chandler, on his now infamous fucking call out after the Tony Ferguson fight of Conor McGregor, basically said in an interview, I think it was the day or 2 days after that he only is interested in either Conor McGregor Nate Diaz or Dustin Poirier next. Otherwise, they might as well just open the doors to 170 and hand him the key to the top because he's ready for a fight, whether the rest of these guys are or not. To his credit, Poirier popped right back up and said, look, Chandler is trying to get himself the biggest fights he can, and you can't be mad at him for that. But stylistically, Conor's a bad matchup for Chandler. I am a bad matchup for Chandler. I'm not saying he's chinny, but he's chinny. And Conor's going to touch you on that chin. I'm going to touch you on that chin. If either one of us touches that chin, Chandler goes to sleep and loses any future prospects of being a potential star, which on one hand, Jesus Christ, Dustin, could you be a little more egotistical? On the other hand, he's not fucking wrong. He's really not. That's a douchebag way to go about making that statement, but he's not incorrect in saying it. And that's the weird part about it.
You know, the only thing I think incorrect about his statement is that he's going to hit just as hard as Conor. No, you're not. Get fucked, dude. Look, as much as Conor's had a fucking rough patch lately, which he fucking has, we got to remember, Conor has been in the UFC less than 10 years. He's solely 33 years old. And I say solely because a lot of fighters don't peak until they're mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
And they start that decline around 38, 39-ish when they really hit their true peak. Poirier has never gone on a run of just fucking cleaning people's clocks like fucking Conor did.
No.
And I think a lot of Conor's problem is he's been sleeping in silk sheets for way too fucking long. Makes it hard to want to fucking train and be that fucking come up fighter that he was. And I admire that he still wants to fight at this point because he doesn't have to. The dude's fucking loaded at this point. He has to do nothing for the rest of his life if he doesn't want to. But he still has apparently shit to prove. At this point, dude, you proved all you need to. You're a legitimate 2 fucking weight class champ. And so what? You lost a couple, you broke your leg. So you got a titanium fucking leg. Take that titanium leg, go sit out on your fucking yacht and peddle some fucking whiskey, call it a day. But man, the way Poirier went about that, I'm not mad at him for calling it out. But the way he tried to pump his own fucking self up there, yeah, you'd probably touch him, but so have a lot of other fighters that touched him that he didn't go to sleep for. Don't get me wrong. His chin is suspect, but I also don't think Poirier hits hard enough for it to make it look suspect.
I agree.
It would take quite a dinging from him to fucking get back in there. Fuck, Oliveira hits harder than fucking Poirier.
That's what I was just going to say. Poirier might have that fucking Max Holloway-esque level of volume that he's going to hit you with 150 fucking punches. He's going to find the openings. He's going to hit you. But he's not going to hit you nearly as fucking hard or as devastatingly off-timed as a Conor McGregor will. And we've seen if Charles Oliveira can catch you clean with volume and a little bit of power and put you down.
But we've also seen Charles Oliveira only need 1 punch, where we have not seen that out of fucking Poirier.
Right. Very true. Very true.
Because you got to think, when he fucking, a lot of his fights where he's gotten behind early, it's his 1 punch power ability that gets him back into it where he can go in and get those fucking submissions. But, you know, and I'm not mad at Poirier. Keep your name in the news, man. You do you. You're a legitimately great fighter, and you will be in the Hall of Fame at one point. You may be in the Hall of Fame similar to fucking Cowboy Cerrone as one of the greatest of all time to never have attained belt.
Right. Well, that and the other thing that I was talking to a buddy about yesterday, whether they want to admit it or not, realistically, Poirier and Chandler are struggling to try and get themselves back at a second title shot right now. And whether either one of them want to admit it or not, they're both still second fiddle behind Conor McGregor. So they are still in their own subtle ways, both trying to edge Conor out, because realistically, whether people want to admit it or not, popular as it may be to shit on him, Conor McGregor has a genuine chance of sliding in at the end of this year against Charles Oliveira, who specifically called Conor out by name. And Conor has a chance of overstepping everyone in the fucking division and coming back off 2 losses in a row to fight for the fucking title again. So at the same time, I understand why Chandler and Poirier are both trying to fucking get their hands higher than each other right now, because if they can't, by the time that titanium shin bone is fully healed, they might find themselves at the back of the fucking line again without having actually done anything wrong in the process.
You know what the craziest part is the way Oliveira starts. Conor very well could off him in the first round because he's got the power to do it. There's
Yes,
nobody, I'll say it, there's nobody in the top 10 right now in that division that holds the power that Conor does in his fucking hands. So if he comes back and fights him, he very well could win him. He could one and done him right in the fucking first round. If he gets out of the first round, he's fucked. But you know.
Yeah, no, worse than that is the way that Chandler starts his fights is very Aldo-esque.
Yep.
So please tell me 13 seconds wouldn't be a fucking stretch to see happen again with the way that that fucking clown's going to run right at Conor.
Yeah, the only problem is we haven't seen Chandler fall enough to have to refigure his life out like Aldo did. And Aldo, right? Which, to be quite honest, fucking Aldo has made a gigantic turnaround. And to be honest, we could see him as champion again, only at bantamweight this time.
Yeah.
Oh, I say again because he's been champion at a bantamweight before, but that was a long time ago. So I'm just saying we could see him as a champion in the UFC again, within a very reasonable short time frame. I'll say
it's a genuine possibility. So
I mean,
things are a little crazy to say the least right now.
Yeah, they're wild.
But I'm fucking here for it, man. Like I'm fucking here for it. I think it's getting very interesting as we get closer to summer and closer to medical suspensions being lifted and things like that. So we'll see. Speaking of medical suspensions getting lifted and decisions being made, we got our first official word this week from Chang Sung Jung since the fucking craziest fight we've ever seen him in his career against Volkanovski. Despite what he said after the fight and in the 1 or 2 interviews he did right afterwards before he basically went radio silent, we have finally gotten confirmation from the man himself. He is not retiring. He is not making any long-term plans. He understands realistically that this was most likely the last chance he's going to get at a title shot in the UFC. And while that is devastating, understandably, he is also not going to let that stop him from having some more potential, very entertaining and very worthwhile fights, which there absolutely are for him still. And hats the fuck off, because that is an ungodly big and hard pill to fucking swallow. No matter what you have done, no matter what you do, you will likely never get another shot at that belt.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, he's still sitting number 5 there, but that's a lot ahead of him right now. I mean,
between everyone ahead of him and how his title fight went after finally having to wait that long to get it.
Yeah, the only way he gets another title shot is if Max fucking offs Volkanovski in this next
right.
And then at that point, he's still got some work to do because they'll probably want to throw Yair at him or fucking. They're not going to throw Calvin Kattar because we already know what happened in that fight.
No, I was just going to say, I think what would have to happen is that Max would have to win, and then somehow we would have to see Ortega versus Rodriguez turn into the featherweight version of Ngannou Lewis, in order to get TKZ back into the conversation realistically.
Yep.
And with those two boys, especially being headlining that fucking Long Island card, there is not much realistic chance of that happening. Even if Max does get past Volk, I don't see that Ortega Yair fight being so bad that neither one of them remain in the conversation anymore.
Yeah.
But apparently this was the week for the drama queens to come out and flare their fucking spirit fingers or something, because as if on cue from everyone else that cried wolf this week, we got word yesterday that Figgy Smalls himself, Davison Figueiredo, upon hearing the confirmation of the fact that Kaya Kara France and Moreno are fighting for the interim title now, says that he cannot believe how much the UFC has betrayed him in creating this interim title. It demeans his getting the belt back, and that it might be so much as to run him completely out of the flyweight division and run him all the way up to bantamweight for good. Unlike in the Aljamain Sterling situation, I actually like Davison Figueiredo, but I think this is a bullshit fucking move. I have a feeling that this is a little more of Captain Eric Albiacine and fucking Waleed Ismail doing their promotional social media work through Figgy's name than actual statements coming directly from Figueiredo based on what we've heard from him in the past. But at the same time, the fact that this kind of a statement is out with his name attached to it, still a shitty look in my opinion.
Yeah. Fuck. Like, they need to stop letting management run their social medias. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Because fucking Eric Albarracine is just as bad, if not worse, than fucking Ali Abdelaziz. Absolutely, in ruining their fighters' social media fucking presence. But speaking of ruining your social media presence, that brings me to the next point we've got in the news today. We got confirmation just this morning that it's official. Triller is about to face sanctions from all athletic bodies available because they have not paid 2 events worth of fighters now, including world championship boxer Kovalev. So this isn't just a situation of you trying to stiff the no-name jocks on the undercard or going back to delivering pizzas the next day. You've got legitimate world-class boxers that you owe fucking money to, and he's got enough of a platform, he can make a real big fucking stink about this.
You know, I've said it and I've said it again. They're a shit promotion. Don't bother. Don't watch their nonsense. And give a fuck who they have as their musical entertainment between fights. Fuck right off. Thank you for adding fuel to my fire, you pieces of shit.
Yeah, Ryan Kavanaugh has officially jumped out of the frying pan and right into the goddamn fire with this one, as if Triller wasn't having enough trouble trying to keep their fucking reputation out of the gutter as it was. Then we get this coming out. So yeah, I don't know how much longer they will be around, if any longer. That being said,
I'm hoping
we
no
did
longer.
Right. We did get a little bit of unfortunate news here just this afternoon. We got confirmation that the one and only Imanari master himself, Ryan Hall, has officially injured himself in training this weekend and completely torn his ACL. He will officially be out for the entirety of the rest of this year. He is right now hoping at best to make a return early summer of 2023.
Guaranteeing that shit happened during an Imanari roll.
I'd be willing to put money on it that it did.
It's kind of like when you learn to play any fighting game. You figure out the
Yeah,
one button that does the one move. You just keep pressing it over and over because that's the only thing you know.
That's Ryan Hall's button mash. It sure the fuck is. So as someone literally still currently dealing with knee surgery, I definitely have fucking sympathy for him. On the other hand, you fucking idiot. He's been doing this how long and he still doesn't know how to fucking train properly. Not a Ryan Hall fan, to say the least. That being said, last little piece I've got here on the news for, excuse me, this particular episode. As if you needed more reason to hate this fucking wine sipping moron, Paulo Costa has found himself back in the news this week because he had to be questioned by police in regards to potential formal charges being brought up this week after he went to a Backstreet Boys reunion vaccination site, walked through the open floor for a few minutes, and then tried to leave, telling the security guard and the nurses he'd already gotten his shot when he first got there. There's no reason for him to stay. He'll just take a vaccination card and be going. And when the nurse tried to grab him by the arm to stop him, he elbowed her in the fucking face. So not like any of us were under any strange fucking predilections that Paulo Costa wasn't a complete fucking scumbag, but this happened in Brazil. So quote unquote celebrity or not, this might get him in a genuine little bit of trouble because they don't take those fucking documents being forged lightly, and they don't take healthcare personnel being assaulted lightly down in Brazil.
No, US, you probably get out with a slap on your wrist. There, you could legitimately face some prison time.
You could be in serious fucking jail time for that down there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the fact that you're supposed to be a Brazilian champion and you do that shit, oh, it's a bad look, bro.
yeah, things are not looking well in your corner. That's all I'm saying.
No, for damn sure. Not good in the Paulo Costa fucking camp right now. So that's all I've got for news. Do you have anything else for news that I might have missed over there, Golf T?
Nothing worth mentioning. All I can say is if you're in the mood to watch some funny shit, go follow some fighters, some of the fighters who manage their, and I say loosely, manage their own fucking socials. Because there are some of them that still do. And some of them are funny as shit.
Right.
And there ain't nothing worth fucking talking about. It's almost like this card this weekend.
Right. No, there's one more little excuse me, one more little piece of news, but it actually ties directly into the card. No, there's one more little piece of news, but it actually ties directly to the card this weekend. So I'm going to wait till we get to that point in the card, and then I'll bring it back up. And I think everyone will appreciate when we get back to that point. So that being said, we will jump past our news here. If you are looking for Punchy Kicky this weekend, it is going down. Basically, from shortly after we end this podcast in a little while until Saturday afternoon early when the fights kick off this weekend, there are a whole shitload of cards kicking off. So just for the major promotions that I'm going to give you guys the ins about here, we're not breaking them down, just so you guys are aware of all the crazy shit you have to look forward to if you need to fill that void that last weekend's lack of Punchy Kicky left for you. Starting at 4:30 a.m. Central Time, just 6 hours from now, 5.5 hours from now, One Championship 158 kicks off. This is another mixed card. They have 10 MMA fights, 2 kickboxing fights, and and a Muay Thai fight, all on this card as well. So full rounded Punchy Kicky in the middle of the night for you. Also taking place tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Central Time, Icon FC3 kicks off. There are a couple of interesting fights on Jorge Masvidal's formerly known Game Bread FC, now Icon FC card taking place. The one that I and predominantly most of the world are the most interested in being the John Noland versus Bo Nickel fight. The debut of one of the most highly touted wrestling, jiu-jitsu, submission, grappling artists into the world of MMA in recent memory for my money here. And to be fair, they're doing this properly. They're letting him make his debut against another guy, making his debut in John Nolan. Both of them are fucking complete newbies, 0-0 across the board, the way that it fucking should be. You want to make a pro debut, you make a pro debut against another guy making his pro debut. Nobody gets the advantage here. It's a smaller promotion. I fucking like it. But at the same time, what we know that Bo is capable of is enough to where I will tune in tomorrow night to keep an eye on this fight. If I don't watch anything else on this card, I will tune in for this fight tomorrow night.
Oh, guaranteed Bo Nichols is going to make that dude's feet touch the fucking ceiling.
It's going to be fun to watch.
I have a feeling that unless Bo Nichols gets caught with some sort of fucking slide punch or kick, it's gonna be one of the best grappling seminars you'll ever see in your fucking life.
And that's about it too. And look, not to be overly negative, but realistically speaking, John Nolan in this situation has what we like to refer to as the puncher's chance. He basically has the opening minute and a half to, I would say, maybe even 2.5 minutes in to the first round before Bo really gets his feet underneath him, starts to get his rhythm down, gets his breathing back under control, and starts to go, all right, let's fucking do this, and then really commit. If he can catch him before then and clip him and drop him, that's going to be his moment, because I think once Bo gets that I'm at home here moment underneath him and it starts to just sink in a little bit and he gets that, all right, let's go, it's already too late.
You know what? I don't even think it's going to take a minute and a half for him to get there. The dude's a multi-time national champ.
Yeah, no,
the dude knows how to deal with the big stage and the big lights. He's been under bigger lights than this little podunk promotion that Game Bread's got going on.
I think as soon as he gets that moment, and you'll see it, I guarantee you'll see it like a light switch. When that moment happens and that fucking transition takes place in Bo Nickel, it's over. It's done. That's when it's gonna be fucking problems.
Look, I wish there was a prop bet for it, because I would say the over-under on that is gonna be 30 seconds.
Right. That would be a great Vegas prop bet. How long does it take Bo to get comfortable in the ring and then switch on? Like genuinely.
Like I to be honest, I think it happens under 30 seconds. Because with his wrestling mentality, there's a lot of those wrestlers are like that, where they just second that bell rings.
They just need that. Yeah, they need that fucking snap to tunnel vision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is they hear ding or fight and it's fucking.
Yeah, whatever that trigger noise is.
Dude, it's like watching two dogs fight over the last fucking T-bone.
That Pavlovian fucking response, the bell rings and Arr!
That's exactly how fucking wrestlers are trained, man. It is really a Pavlovian fucking response, because they drill that shit from the time you're like in junior high. Hell, even I remember wrestling in grade school up through junior high, and there was some times where you just hear it. And even you didn't have to be in the wrestling room, but they might be testing it in the fucking wrestling room. And as you're walking by, you hear it, and your mind just goes, fucking go.
Yep.
It's a trained response, because that's how you train. You train like you fight. Same concept. So I say under 30 seconds. Mark my words. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fucking interesting. That one fight alone is worth the fucking price of admission to see that card, if you get to go see that shit live in Virginia tomorrow night. So if that somehow between the ONE FC and then the Icon FC isn't enough. Don't worry, there's plenty more, because starting at 9 o'clock Central tomorrow night, excuse me, is LFA 133 with a fully loaded 13 fight card. Again, generally, mostly folks making their debut or having their first or second fight as a pro. So not a lot of recognizable names, but if you're looking for debut fighters that you're going to follow, folks making their debut that are going to make a splash at some point, these are the kind of events that you look for to find. That being said, that will bring us to Saturday's, I believe, earliest card of 2022 so far. UFC Vegas, I believe it is 57 now. Rozenstruik versus Volkov. Holy shit. The prelims for these fights start at noon Central Time Saturday. So like I said, there are fights that are literally going to be starting just a couple hours after we end this Thursday night, going almost nonstop until Saturday afternoon, when the UFC main event will end at a somewhat reasonable time for a change. I'm betting we're going to have the finish of this main card. Main card starts at 3 p.m. Central Time. I'm betting we're going to have the whole kit and caboodle done before 8 p.m. Central Saturday night, which is going to be fucking weird for UFC Fight Night. But we do have some interesting fights, even though, like we said, time and time again, and I promise you, like it or not, we will continue to say time and time again, the UFC Fight Nights before and after pay-per-view cards are almost always garbage. So if you go into them with low expectations, any fight that doesn't completely suck is a full win. And the ones that are genuinely exciting are fucking carnival level excitement at that point. So these are the fights that we say you might not need to watch the entire card start to finish, but it's a good card to turn on and leave the volume up on, even if you're doing other things around the house while the card takes place, because you won't need to watch all of every one of these fights, but when the excitement happens, you'll hear it, and it will be enough to where you can lean over around the corner and go, oh shit. And then when it gets back to lulled, you can go back to whatever you were doing previously and not really miss a whole lot this weekend. I will say, realistically speaking, for my money at least, one of the best fights on this entire fucking card, for some reason, they decided to open the whole fucking kit and caboodle with, because like I said, this card does not have a whole lot of excitement on it, but realistically speaking, Erin Blanchfield versus JJ Aldrich could be one of the most fun ladies fights we have seen in a little while. Erin Blanchfield is a gal that is allergic to boring fights. We don't see that very often, but she is. She is allergic to boring fights. She breaks out fucking punches and shit goes haywire. It's fun. JJ Aldrich is kind of like a human Benadryl. She's going to try and lull you to fucking sleep, but Erin's there to kick it back in and hype it the fuck back up. So weird fight for them to open the entire card with, but I am glad that they're putting it where you're going to get a taste of what they've got in store for you right out of the fucking gate.
Yeah. It's got a possibility of it. To be quite honest, JJ Aldrich has really fucking fallen off. Yes. She was fucking highly touted at one point, and then just all of a sudden the fucking plane crashed and she couldn't get it fixed and back off the ground. So I think we're just going to see Erin Blanchfield showcase there. To be quite honest, if we're talking ladies fights, I'm excited to see Carolina Kowalkiewicz come back against Felice Herring. Look, Felice Herring is not a fucking rule breaker, but she's not an easy fight either. And seeing Carolina come back after a long layoff, I'm excited to see how she does, especially knowing now she's seems to have all of her fucking shit back in a row now. She got her fucking wedding and all that shit out of the way. She has nothing else to focus on but the fight.
Yeah.
So it very well could be a turning point for her.
No, I agree. And this is, I don't want to say it's a setup, but it's kind of a fucking setup. These two originally fought for almost exactly 4 years ago, and like 4 years and 3 weeks ago to the day. And Carolina won by split decision in a pretty fucking tough back and forth battle. Now we're in a situation where Felice has been sitting on the sidelines for like 2 years, to almost 2 years since shortly after that fight. And Carolina, on the other side, has basically lost every fight since then, with the exception of one. So both of these girls really need this fight. Aside from it being a rematch of a very close fight, the situation that both of them are in, if either one of them realistically loses this in dominant fashion, like first round fucking stoppage, like dominant stoppage, this could be walking papers for either one of them, depending on how it shakes loose.
Yeah,
but
most definitely.
Knowing that it's the rematch on top of everything else, and that both of them have been asking for this rematch to get made, but neither one of their paths have made it back towards that, I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, for my money at least, dark horse fight of this entire fucking card is on the prelims. And I don't understand why. What I don't understand more than that is how the fuck Vegas gets the odds that they do sometimes. Damon Jackson versus Dan Argueta. Dan Argueta was on The Ultimate Fighter. Looked like a fucking stud. Did not get his UFC contract. Went back to LFA, remained undefeated in the LFA, kicking ass and taking names across the fucking board, and is now back with his actual UFC contract opportunity here, taking on the guy who looks like your roofer who leaves at lunch and comes back with a completely different personality. Now, we've seen Damon Jackson do pretty damn good, but the people that we have seen Damon Jackson do good against are generally confirmed solid tier soup cans. This almost feels to me like more Damon Jackson's test than it is Dan's test, because Dan has already proven that he is at the level of the UFC, in my opinion. Damon is just kind of like playing janitor along the fucking rim of the unranked, for lack of a better phrase right now. Like, he's cleaning up the soup cans that are too soup canny to stay in the unranked status, if that makes sense. I feel like, I don't know if Argueta is coming in to fucking shake up the world, but I feel like he's one of those dudes that kind of proved himself, and the UFC kind of fucked him in the process and didn't really give him the shine he earned, in my opinion. And I kind of hope that he holds that fucking grudge and brings it in here with him, because he's a very well-rounded fighter. And for some fucking reason, Vegas odds right now have Damon Jackson as the minus 575 favorite versus Argueta as the plus 410 underdog. And I don't fucking understand that at all. Argueta is 8-0 for fuck's sake.
I think it's just that big jump. That's what it is. It's that jump over to the bright lights. That's probably why they've got it that way. But that's,
that's so crazy to me. Like, dude made it through fucking Ultimate Fighter. Dude is still post Ultimate Fighter, completely undefeated still. No professional losses. But fucking Pillhead McGee on the other side has got a fucking minus 575 Vegas odd in his favor, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good fight, but man, It's fucking crazy how they've got that one set, in my opinion. That being said, this is one of the strangest main cards I can remember seeing. I get that it is, like we said, it's a pre-fucking pay-per-view fight night card, so it's gonna be weird, but man, this one feels extra weird. So I will say, of the fights on this card, this is about as well as they could have laid the main card out, in my opinion. Ode Osborne versus Zaruk Adeshev is probably going to be the legitimate closest contended fight on the main card. With the exception of maybe the co-main event, but we'll get there in a minute. But this is the point where I mentioned earlier in the show that there was one more little tidbit of news that I was going to save and bring back around when we got to it. This is that moment, boys and girls. So ShareDog.com right now has an article that you can go, and I encourage you to go and read after the show is over. Basically, they do a writer-fighter showcase write up. Words are hard live sometimes. They do a fighter showcase write up. There we go. Basically just a brief description of some of the newer guys making their debuts so that you got an idea of who's getting in there when the new guys come around. So they go to write the piece on Askar Mozarov, do a little bit of digging, look into his record a little bit. At this point, they publish this. His record is something to the tune of 37-15. Not a bad record. Definitely been around. Shows you got some experience. Still on the winning side. Okay. So ShareDog starts to do a little research into some of these fights that got this record up, and some of these fights aren't verifiable. Some of these organizations aren't verifiable. Some of these events that he's claiming on his record never fucking happened as far as anyone can tell. There's no record of the event. There's no record of the promotions. There's no record of some of the fighters that he is claiming to have beaten. There's just all kinds of blatant lies put together on this gentleman's resume to the extent that while I was watching a report on this get read earlier this afternoon, in the process of reading the story and updating it as they were reading it, it changed during the reporting of the story this afternoon, to the extent that last I heard, it went all the way down to 22-12. And while they were reporting on it and refreshed it, went down to 21-11. I'm curious if he's going to have any professional fights by the time we get to Saturday and they actually introduce this motherfucker.
You know, if he does not, that'll be one of the biggest fucking, like, to be honest, I'll be fucking ecstatic, and I will hope, to be honest, I'm not a fan of Alonzo Menifield at all. I just want to put that out there.
Right.
So I've been kind of hoping that he whips his ass, knocks him out. And if he does it, and we come to find out that he actually has never fought professionally, that's icing on the cake, and even more reason for me to want to root for the guy that he's been able to pull this kind of shambles to get into the UFC. Because you know what? That's a pretty tall fucking order to pull that, because usually those guys are pretty good about making sure there are checks and balances.
Yes. And on the same fucking page as Golfy here, I am not an Alonzo Menifield fan. I got nothing against the guy. There's just something about him that makes me not want to fucking root for him. And for my money, he's not that well-rounded of a fucking fighter. How he's managed to stay this long in the UFC fighting the way he does, good on you, man. Good on you. That being said, though, the fact that this dude he is fighting has potentially not only made it to the UFC, but is about to make his walk, having lied on his resume this fucking hard and weaseled his way through the UFC vetting process. It almost makes me want to see him just lay Menafield out and then walk out before they can interview him post-fight. Just do work and dip out. Just to leave that much more mystery out there. Just to keep it that fucking crazy and never fucking address it. Just ignore it. Just dip out.
Well, not just that vetting process, but then can we also talk about the Vegas odds where they damn near have him fucking his equals?
Right on the money? Yeah.
If he's managed to skew everything that much, and it really is all bullshit, dude. Dude is a legitimate fucking gangster.
Performance of the year right there in just selling yourself to the UFC.
And apparently to Vegas too.
Right? Yeah, no shit.
Because if you can pull all of that off, you've done something fantastically right. And I'm not even mad about it, no matter what it turns out to be.
Right? No shit. And kind of in that similar vein, though, we actually were laughing about this until earlier this afternoon, as a matter of fact. Up until I think it was like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock this evening tonight, the UFC website, the official UFC.com fucking website, still did not even have a name, let alone a player unlocked character profile fucking placeholder for poor Kareem Silva taking on Poliana Botelho this evening, or this weekend rather, on Saturday's card. How this is on the main card, but the Blanchfield Aldrich fight opens on the very top of the prelims, I don't fucking understand. B, how you get to literally less than 36 hours from the fight itself happening and not even have the fighter's name on the official fucking website of the most prestigious organization for combat sports in the fucking world? Are you fucking kidding me? Really? We're dragging our feet that fucking hard, UFC? Come on, man.
You know, it makes me wonder what's going on over there, because I remember way back in the day where you could, and I say way back in the day, like 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, you could go on the website, you could see every fight on every card for like the next 4 months.
At least 4 to 6 months out. Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day. Like at one point, not that fucking long ago, you could click UFC.com, click on events, and a dozen events in a row, a dozen of them would fucking drop down, and you could click on any fucking one of them and see every fight that was on that fucking card, with the exception of obviously a last minute change up or something like that. But they would give you at least 3 to 4 months worth of events and all the fights that were on those fucking cards. So you knew how to plan where you were going to get excited for what fight.
Well, good
now
God, yeah,
we're at a point, we're a day and a half out from the fight itself, and they didn't even have this poor fucking girl on the website.
Well, fuck. It's like they used to update the website so goddamn quickly that you would find out about fights off of the UFC website before you found out about them in further out.
Yeah, it
other
was
outlets.
the news. Yeah, that's where you got your fucking news. When UFC.com would add a fight to a card, that was your oh shit moment. There was no fucking aggregators like that. There would have been no fucking reason for a show like ours to have existed a couple years ago when the UFC actually kept their shit updated the way that they used to.
Yeah, and now you got it
on.
Now you really got to pay attention, or you end up hearing it from fucking. You end up hearing about the fight news themselves from the fucking news outlets before you hear about it from the UFC, which, to be honest, is fucking mind-boggling. If you want to promote fighters and make those fighters the next big thing, you should be the first one reporting that shit. Put that shit on the website first. Have a news section or recent fight signing section or something, you know?
Yeah.
The hell? What the hell do we know? We're just a couple of random guys.
Right? Yeah, it's not like we talk about fights every fucking week or, live MMA fucking every weekend or anything like that. Yeah.
Yep, have no idea what that sport is. Never heard of her.
Right. That being said, though, that will bring us to kind of almost a theme for this particular card. Former Ultimate Fighters who are just kind of getting thrown wherever in the midst. Michael the Lone Wolf Trezano, winner of the Ultimate fucking Fighter, and then basically thrown on the fucking shelf and done nothing with, now taking on Lucas Almeida. Exactly. That's the proper response. We don't know who the fuck he is either, and we watch this fucking sport. So the average person at home is going to go, who? Why do I give a fuck about that? Luckily, he's in the People's Co-Main Event spot, so at least there will be a tendency to be more eyes on this fight than it would have been had they thrown him into the prelims. But still, this is one of those situations. You have a fucking Ultimate Fighter winner, not just a contestant. He fucking won. And they put him on the fucking shelf and let him collect dust. And now they're throwing him against a fucking no-name soup can in the middle of a fucking pre-pay-per-view fight night card. Tell me again how the UFC values its employees and treats them reasonably for what they're worth.
Oh, the irony in that. God damn it.
Right?
It's like they're not even trying anymore.
No. And the fucked up thing is that they're legitimately right fucking now, as we speak, pushing the Ultimate Fighter to try and consider it or keep it considered relevant with the fucking ladies bantamweight champions coaching it at the same fucking time. Literally ignoring 2 seasons ago's fucking champion on a pre-pay-per-view fight night People's Co-Main Event slot. The irony is fucking palpable, I tell you. That being said, for my money, the genuine most exciting fight on this entire shit show of a card is this co-main event. Dan 50K Ige versus Movsar Evliov. And it's not for a reason that most people are probably going to fucking think. Because I like Dan Ige. I really do. And the 50K, I get it. He definitely stamped some fucking bonus checks. But realistically speaking, I think Dan Ige is in the situation that he's in right now because of some very choice matchmaking by his management. Movsar Evliov, on the other hand, is where he is because he's a fucking lunatic and he's dangerous everywhere. This former Russian Federation fighter is fucking tearing his way through the featherweight division quietly and completely under the goddamn radar somehow. He has worked his way through the relative who's who of the lower and unranked fighters in the featherweight division, slowly building himself a resume that is genuinely hard to argue with on his way up to the top, currently coming after Dan Ige's top 10 gatekeeping position right now. I like Dan Ige. I really do. I don't know if he's got what it takes to get past Evliov, because Evliov is that nerd assassin, like they say. He's that dude that just looks nice and soft-spoken, plain demeanored, and then you get him in that fucking cage and a switch snaps in the back of his fucking head, and he's the most dangerous motherfucker you've ever seen. I don't know if Dan Ige's got what it takes to get around that. I really don't.
I hate to say it, and I said it earlier at the beginning of the show. Dan Ige is no longer Dan 50K Ige. The 50K is gone by the wayside. to be honest, I don't see him doing anything moving forward. At best, he's going to be a gatekeeper for the top 15. I'll say it right now. I don't have any faith left in him. And no, we've got a young fucking all-star on the way up here who is still fucking hungry. That's a fucking tall task for Dan. I'm hoping maybe he's pulled us out of his ass, but I doubt it. So out with the old and in with the new.
Right. And I'm taking it one step further. I did what I keep fucking saying I'm not gonna fucking do, and I fucking flipped it around, and I did my picks with my fucking brain for the show, and I do my picks for my heart on the fucking Tapology for some fucking reason. I still feel like Ige has got that chance to come out and get that 50K moment. Like it, and it's literally gonna have to be in the first minute and a half. I think if he can come out and just land a clean shot and land it early and just drop Evely off, it's the only fucking chance that he's got. If he doesn't, I'm telling you right now, if he doesn't have Evliov on his back staring at rafters looking to try and figure out what the fuck just happened in the first minute and a half of this fucking fight, it all goes downhill rapidly. The longer this fight goes, the worse it gets for Ige, in my opinion. I want to see him have a great moment. I want to see him come out there and just be like, that's why they call me 50K, motherfuckers. But I just realistically, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not changing my fucking Tapology pick. I'm leaving it there. I'm standing on my fucking feelings. God damn it. I made the pick. I'm going to fucking stand on it. I feel like I'm probably fucking stupid for standing on it, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's my fucking pick. But if Ige can get that in the first minute and a half, I think he's money. If it takes him a minute 31, I think it starts the trouble timer counting down.
I'm just saying, you do you, boo-boo.
I never said I was smart, but I'm a man of conviction.
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that.
Oh, that being said, though, that will bring us to the meat and potatoes of the meat and potatoes in this particular meat and potatoes section of the show. The marquee reason for the season, the name on the banner, the reason that folks pay attention, the main event, Alexander Draco Volkov versus Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rozenstruik. This, I feel like, is just more proof of why the UFC does generally do a lot of heavyweight main events. Generally speaking, main events are the most exciting fight on a card. And the heavyweight fights, even big heavyweight fights, generally, more often than not at least, play second fiddle and take that co-main event spot, because even the great heavyweight fights are either short or very one-sided. The predominant, vast majority of the heavyweight fights we've seen at least the last year or two lately tend to be long and grueling and not the most exciting, or 12 seconds long and a vicious knockout. There's very little gray area in between. We're looking at two dudes who have basically burnt all of their 12-second knockout cards in their career, in my opinion. And I will say, to their credit, both of these heavyweights do have the gas tank to go 25 minutes. The problem is there's not a person on this fucking planet who wants to watch these two fight for 25 minutes. And I have a very bad feeling that that's exactly what we're going to see. This is another one of those heavyweight fights where stylistically they're pretty fucking similar. They're not that different in their approach to striking and grappling. They're not that well-rounded overall. There's a reason that they are ranked number 7 and number 8, and I feel like that's a little bit gracious on both sides realistically. This could be the 15 and 14 fight for the division, in my opinion, and it would probably make a little bit more sense, especially considering the impact that this fight's going to have, because neither one of these two, with a spectacular 7-second roundhouse, windmill, jumping, double spinning, fucking dragon punch knockout, are going to get themselves back into the title conversation come Monday morning. There's nothing either one of these two could do in this fight to jump themselves over the line and get into the conversation. So this is just another in a long line of fights that, yes, it is a potentially entertaining fight, but it is divisionally irrelevant. There is nothing either one of these guys can do, including a miracle fluke fucking highlight reel knockout that ESPN will never stop playing, that'll put them in the title convo. So why is it the main event?
Because what they're hoping for is something along the lines of a Volkov Derek Lewis, where it's one-sided as all hell, and then we get a last-minute fucking knockout.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense. Granted, don't get me wrong, the fight itself makes sense as far as where those two are in the rankings, but outside of that,
yeah, absolutely,
it's a waste of time. And to be honest, also, I really think it's going to go that route. Do I think Rozenstruik's going to come back and get him, though? No, because I think Volkov's just a touch better than Rozenstruik. But, I mean, even that's fucking debatable, so.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what have we seen out of him lately? And unfortunately, with the fight game, it's what have you seen me do lately? It really is, especially when you have not been the top guy. Volkov was close at one point, but he's really fallen off since then, and so has Rozenstruik, because Rozenstruik was right there too.
Yeah, literally knocking on that fucking door.
Oh yeah. So here we are with this nonsense. But hey, at least we've got something. And it's not going to be late, so it's not like you can't catch dinner afterwards.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the silver lining, I will say, to having a weird situation like we've got this weekend, is that with the prelims starting at noon Central Time, this whole ordeal, this entire card, I'm willing to bet will be done before most people will be sitting down to eat dinner Saturday night. So there is silver lining where you look for it. But that being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So I do want to first and foremost thank each and every one of you, whether you are tuning in to this live on Thursdays on youtube.com/ImNoJoe, whether you're catching this the week after it airs live over on anchor.fm/ImNoJoe through your podcast consumption platform of choice, or whether you are just looking at the post on Instagram and clicking that like button. We appreciate you just the same. That being said, if you appreciate what we do around here, make sure you've got all your notifications turned on whatever platform you consume this on. If you are interested, Linktree link down in the description has the link for everything we do, all of our socials, everyone who is on the show's socials, all of the good links you will need are down there for you to click. We would appreciate if on whatever platform you are consuming this, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. On the other hand, if you do not like what we do around here, first and foremost, why the fuck are you this deep into a podcast you do not enjoy? That being said, give us the thumbs down. We will not even dispute it. And please fuck right on off. That being said, we're going to call it off for this particular episode. So until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless you thought shitting in somebody's bed was going to cost you any less than $15 million.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.